Hey everybody, welcome back to Board Game Blender. I am Zee Garcia, and today we are talking about pillaging and plundering. Of course, all sorts of piratey games about destruction and attacking and taking all of the gold. And we're going to be running the gamut all the way from complex piratey games, lots of theme, lots going on, to very simple games, still about pillaging and or plundering. So thank you for joining us, and let's kick it off right away. Here we go.
Hey guys, Tiff here, and this week we're talking about fighting, conquest, and destruction. Themes that most teenagers are familiar with, whether in game form or not. There are probably a million confrontational take-that style games I could reference here, but I decided to take a different approach and go with a co-op. In this case, a game where all the players are fighting together to prevent monster conquest and the destruction of their castle. I'm talking about Castle Panic. Castle Panic is a tower defense game for 1 to 6 players from Fireside Games. Being cooperative, players strategize together on how best to use their archers, knights, and swordsmen to push back a relentless onslaught of orcs, goblins, and trolls hell-bent on bringing down their castle. The gameplay is super simple. On your turn, you draw up to your hand limit of 6 cards, make trades if you want to, then play as many cards as you want. The cards represent the fighters and various tools at your disposal. Each type of fighter corresponds to a different ring on the board. Only archers can reach the outer ring, knights can go to the middle ring, and swordsmen fight in the inner ring. When you play a card, you target a monster on the appropriately colored region and ring. For example, this blue archer will hit the orc in the blue outer ring. When you hit a monster with 1 hit point, he's removed from the game, but if he has more, you'll rotate his piece to indicate how many points he has left. After you're finished playing cards, you move all the remaining monsters 1 ring closer to the tower. Monsters already at the walls or the tower will destroy a section of it, losing 1 of their own hit points in the process. The last thing you do on your turn is draw 2 monster tokens. If they're trolls, orcs, or goblins, you also roll the die and place them on the corresponding area. If you draw one of the special tokens, you might have to discard cards or even roll a boulder across the entire board, knocking everything down in its path. The game ends either when the monsters have completely destroyed the tower or when you and your teammates have defeated all of the monsters. If you're victorious, you tally points according to how many monsters you personally defeated and determine who the Master Slayer is. You also have the option of skipping this step and playing the game as a straight co-op, where it's simply a group win or loss. Co-op games are one of those genres that can really blow your mind the first time you try one. For me, pandemic really opened up a whole new world of gaming possibilities and drew me into this hobby, so I like to introduce my kids to games like Castle Panic, as they quickly discover it's an easy game to play, but not an easy game to win. The challenge of it keeps them coming back for more, and because there are 2 expansions, there's plenty more to explore. The Wizard's Tower and the Dark Titan are both solid additions to the game. Once everyone understands the base mechanisms, I rarely play without them. There are even alternate themes of this game with Dead Panic, Munchkin Panic, and the upcoming Star Trek Panic if your group isn't really into the fantasy theme. If you're looking for a fun, introductory co-op, I highly recommend you check this one out, and I'll see you back next time.
Hi everybody! Pillage and Plunder. It kind of calls for a pirate game, right? Well, I was this close to talking about Francis Drake, which is one of my favorite games, but not really a pirate game. And then I remembered Pirates Cove, and the choice was obvious because there are few pirate games that can make me go arr and matey more than this one does. Pirates Cove is almost 15 years old now, but it really withstands the test of time because I still have a blast playing it. Published by Days of Wonder, Pirates Cove has great components and art, and it's still available today. Taking place over a year in the life of a pirate, with each month being a round of play, players will sail to different islands to seek treasure and infamy, especially if it means battling each other and legendary pirates along the way. You get your own ship with hull, crew, cannon, and sail attributes that you can develop along the way, and there's always the safe haven of Treasure Island where you can bury your treasure and repair your damage in peace. You can also gain tavern cards that provide a range of benefits from ship upgrades to battle boosters, and if you're really lucky, your very own parrot. In the game, treasure cards on each island determine the bounty to be had there for the round. Players secretly set a destination and then simultaneously reveal their wheels. And this is where a lot of the fun in the game comes in. You have to eyeball your opponent and decide where you think they're going to go and determine if you want to go to a less desirable island to avoid combat or whether you need to charge in head first because you have to get a critical upgrade. It's basically a minigame in itself. When you end up on the same island as another player or with a legendary pirate, a battle ensues. Cannons determine the number of dice rolled and battle cards are played to impact the outcome. And if you play the way my friends and I do, there are many short-term alliances formed during multiplayer battles, especially when you face a legendary pirate. These are all tougher to beat, but worth a lot of fame points. Legendary pirates move in a predictable pattern to help you make your own navigation choices, and overall there's a really nice level of tactical decision-making in the game. When everything is resolved, scoop up your booty, upgrade your ships, and move on to the next round until the end of the year when the pirate with the most fame declares victory. Pirates Cove is a great lighter weight game that plays well with families, non-gamers, and gamers alike. The gameplay invites players to really get into character, and there are lots of great moments of hopefully good-natured yelling. To be honest, I kind of feel like Pirates Cove doesn't get the gamer love that it deserves, so if you haven't tried it before, I encourage you to check out Pirates Cove the next time you're in port. See you next time!
Hi folks, this week's game is great because you have a lot of different choices. You can go around as a law-abiding merchant, sailing the seas, picking up goods and delivering them, checking out rumors and finding out if they're true, making money and storing it in your
Or you can pillage in Merchants and Marauders.
Let's take a look. Merchants and Marauders is a pirate-themed game with many paths to victory. In order to win, you need to get 10 or more glory points, and you can do that in a variety of ways. By defeating a player or NPC, by selling 3 or more cargo cards in a port where the goods that are sold there are in demand, by plundering 12 or more gold in a merchant raid, by completing a mission, by finding a rumor to be true, or by upgrading your ship and buying a galleon or frigate. You can also gain glory points by stashing 10 gold, and you can do that up to 5 times in a 10-point game. A typical turn goes as follows. First, you draw an event card and see it through. Then, you have 3 player actions that you get to choose from. You can A, move your ship, B, scout around for merchants, players, or NPCs to plunder and pillage, or C, go into port. And if you go into port, there are a variety of different actions that you can do there. The turns continue until one player reaches 10 glory points. He declares so, and the game ends after everyone has had their turn. The person with the most glory points overall wins the game.
Well, there you have it. That's a quick overview to Merchants and Marauders. It's a pretty epic game, so we couldn't go over everything in detail. We really enjoyed this game. It's really good 2-player. The only minus to 2-player that you'll find in games like this is that you could potentially not interact very much, but I guess that's okay. You can always chase the other player down if you want to pillage them. It has some amazing components.
Yeah, it's great, and the little dice are very cute too. You have the skull and crossbones on the 6th place on the dice, and pretty sturdy little cardboard pieces for all of the different tokens and things, and the ships are adorable, the little plastic ones, and they match the cards that describe the information, so it's really easy to keep them straight.
And it comes with a not so necessary but really cool treasure chest that you can put your money in, which is awesome. And it comes with an expansion.
Yes, and normally we are not fans of expansions, but Seas of Glory is a great one and well worth the price. It's modular, so you can pick and choose which ones that you use to add to the game, and we absolutely love several, enjoy quite a few. There's a couple that we're kind of met on, but overall, very awesome expansion, adds a great level of adventure to the game. So check this one out, Merchants and Marauders. Thank you so much for joining us.
Catchphrase!
Hey guys, what's going on? I'm Roy Canny from Epic Gaming Night, and this is From Easy to Epic, where we talk about an easier game with focus on the beginner, and then a more epic game with a focus on advanced play. This week is all about conquest and pillaging and taking over things. So the first game we're going to talk about is Tiny Epic Kingdoms. Epic Kingdoms is a 2 to 5 player competitive game where players are going to be trying to have the most victory points when one of the 3 in-game conditions is met. Players will take turns taking actions on the action board, and other players will have a chance to follow. You can patrol, quest, build, research, expand, and trade. You will expand out onto the board trying to exploit different areas' resources and attacking your opponent in areas to keep those resources from them. Combat uses a bidding system where you spend resources to try to further your combat. Whoever spends the most resources will win the combat, but there's a lot of bluffing that goes back and forth with that. There are tons of different fantasy races in Tiny Epic Kingdoms that can make the game feel new and exciting each time you play. I love the miniature 4X part of Tiny Epic Kingdoms where you're trying to take over all these areas and basically claim all these lands for your own and jump over to other people's boards and try to attack them, and the whole combat mechanic where you're using resources, basically bidding them, and it's sort of like this bluffing sort of thing where it's like, how many resources are they going to use? Well, I know I can beat them if I use the max, but are they going to try to combat me on that? Maybe I can go a little bit lower. It's very much the same mechanic as in Rex/Dune, which is one of my favorite games of all time. So I really enjoy Tiny Epic Kingdoms, and it's a super simple miniature 4X game. So if you're looking for that sort of small, light 4X game, make sure to check out Tiny Epic Kingdoms. For our next game that we're going to talk about is Forbidden Stars. Forbidden Stars is a 2 to 4 player competitive game of epic space conquest set in the Warhammer 40k universe. Each player will take turns strategically placing down order tokens, trying to make sure the timing is right to be able to claim their objectives. You will have to gather resources, build up your forces, attack your opponent to make sure to claim a number of objectives equal to the number of players in order to win the game. Combat in Forbidden Stars is very intense and strategic, with lots of card play and dice manipulation back and forth on both sides. Tons of ways to upgrade your army and build a massive fleet to decimate your opponents and claim what is rightfully yours. Forbidden Stars feels truly epic, with these giant fleets of ships going around trying to claim the objectives, attacking each other on all fronts, doing everything you can to get the objectives for your faction. Once you get all of your objectives, then you win the game. The combat is super intense with all the different card play and the dice and trying to manipulate that stuff. Lots of combat, lots of fighting each other, epic ships on an epic scale. So if you're into a bigger combat in your face style game, make sure to check out Forbidden Stars. This has been From Easy to Epic. Make sure to check us back next time, and we'll see you then.
Howdy gamers, it's time once again for Buy, Try, or Deny. I'm Indiana John. Today we're taking a look at pirates, pillaging and plundering and all those good things, and so of course I have to talk about pirate games. Pirates are one of my favorite themes in games, and there have just been some really great pirate games that have come out in recent years. Things like Merchants and Marauders, Jamaica, which is a great racing game, and even that Pirates of the Spanish Main collectible shipbuilding game. Man, I thought that was super fun. I bought a ton of that stuff. But today we're going to talk about 3 different pirate-themed games, and we'll see whether there's something that you want to add to your treasure chest or not. So without further ado, get out your best eye patch, let's hoist the mainsail, and everybody together with me say the 18th letter of the alphabet, R. Today's buy game is usually my go-to game if I have exactly 6 players in my game group, and that is Libertalia, designed by Paolo Mori. Now, this is a game that plays 2 to 6 players, but I think it really does shine with the maximum number of players. And in this game, you are playing a pirate, and you are simultaneously selecting these roll cards, and everybody has the exact same hand of cards. Then those cards are laid out on a board in rank order, and then you carry out actions in a couple of different phases. Now, the final phase being that you're going to be taking turns taking these treasure tokens from the middle of the board, all with the purpose of trying to get the most points. But there's a lot of interesting bluffing that goes on in this game, and sort of trying to figure out what the other player has played and what they might be holding back, because everyone has an equal playing field of having the exact same hand of cards. but I find it to be really a lot of fun and an engaging experience, but not too heavy. It's still kind of a light experience, but it's thinky enough to be sort of considered a gamerly sort of game. So it's not necessarily a gateway game, but it's probably a next step. So with great artwork, you can see from the box here, the box has just beautiful artwork on it. The cards all have wonderful artwork on them as well. So really nice production and a not very expensive game. But I would highly recommend, if you're looking for a good pirate experience for up to 6 players, you can't go wrong with our buy game, Libertalia. Our try game this time is also a role selection game, but with a very different feel to it. And I'm talking about Dread Curse, designed by Stuart Sisk and produced by Smirk and Dagger Games. Now, in this game, you're playing different roles on a ship, different jobs, and you're taking turns pulling coins out of a central bag, and then you're also stealing coins from one another that are sitting out in front of you with the goal of trying to get the most money. And you're pushing your luck, because when you feel like you have enough coins to win the game, you can cut and run and get out, and then once everyone has done that, you'll add up the points. There's also a black spot coin that if you end up with that one, you absolutely lose the game no matter what. And then there's also these great Pirates code cards that are sort of the take that element, a very Smirk and Dagger thing, where you can play those on people and sort of change the course of the game. This is a try for me because I think that a lot of people won't like the sort of random element in this game. If you're looking for a more strategic experience, something like Libertalia would probably be better for you. But this is definitely a ale and pretzels game, I think, that you can just pull out with up to 8 players and just set it up, just play it for a little while and just have a good time with it. So it's just a nice light experience with a pirate theme. You can make up pirate voices and have a lot of fun with that. There's also a monkey. That's good. So if you're looking for a real light experience for up to 8 players with a pirate theme, I think you should definitely give a try to Dread Curse. Today's Deny game is another game about dividing up treasure from a central pile in the middle of the board, and that is Scallywags from Game Right Games. Now, you may be asking, if this is a Deny, John, then why do you have this in your collection? And I'm going to go ahead and make the caveat that this is only a Deny if you are playing with other gamers. I think that this is definitely a game to be played with children. And if you're playing with children, it's probably more of a try or even a buy. But for gamers, if you're looking for a fun experience of dividing up coins, I would definitely go with Dread Curse, or another game that I haven't even talked about yet called Booty. That's a new one that's a lot of fun as far as that goes. But this one is really designed more for kids, and so it's a Deny for me for gamers. In this game, you are trying to take coins from the center by playing cards that have all the usual pirate tropes on them, yo-ho-ho, me hearties, and all that kind of stuff. And some of the coins are face up, and some of them are face down, and so you're trading these things out and trying to get the most points. I find that you can sort of get stuck towards the end of the game where you don't really have much of a play, and so that's when the game can get very much bogged down. And again, if you're playing with children, it's probably not that big of a deal, but I found that trying to play this with other gamers, it's definitely a Deny. But overall, a pretty decent game for children, Scallywags. So there you have it, 3 pirate-themed games. Our Deny game, Discworld Ankh-Morpork, I mean Scallywags. Our try game, Dread Curse, and our excellent buy game, Libertalia. What is your favorite pirate-themed game? Let me know in the comments, and be sure to follow me on Twitter @IndieBoardGamer. So, until next time, pirate-themed catchphrase.
For today's Quirky Game, we are taking a look at Cartagena, but not the Cartagena you are probably familiar with. Not even the second one, Cartagena 2, which I thought was a nice improvement on the first one. I'm actually not a big fan of either one of those games too much, but I am a big fan of this one. This is Cartagena the Mutiny. Now, written here in German, of course, and that is because this game never had an English release, which is one of the things that makes it a quirky game, considering most games these days do get an English release, and this is one of the ones that never did, unfortunately. I think it was just around the time that, games weren't really all getting that treatment, and so I guess this one just, for lack of a better pun, it missed the boat. And so, in this one, the idea is to be on the winning side and have the most money when the game is completely over. We are going to be choosing whether we want to side with the captain or we want to side with the mutineer throughout the game. And then at the end of the game, there's going to be a fight, and the side that is victorious, whoever was on that side, wins. If they were alone, if they were the only player that was on that side, and if there were multiple people on the winning side, then most money, of course, wins the game. In the game, you are going to be using a role selection mechanism for the first half of the game, that is before the big fight at the end. And it's a really neat idea where you have all of these characters, and one person each round is going to shuffle them up and reveal a number of them, and you flip one. If you flip one and you want it, then you do whatever action it says. In this case, you can steal 1 gold, or you can take a gold or a fighting card for the end of the round, things like that. If you don't like it, though, you knock on the door, because these represent doors on the ship, so it's very thematic. You knock, and the player who's managing the cards will flip over the next one, and then you can pick that one. You can go back, but you can take that one instead. The trick there is that one of the characters in the deck here is a ghost. And if you take the ghost, well then, your turn is over. And so you got to be careful if you push your luck too much. And, you know, not every card is on the table. But you deal a certain amount. There might be no ghost, so you might be safe. But you got to be careful for that. So really clever stuff that will get you cards, that will get you money. And the money's pretty nice in this game. It's plastic coins, but they're very well done. I'm very happy with the components. It has these miniatures here, and these are pretty neat. They have a number on the bottom, and so they will help you decide the fight at the end of the game. But that's pretty much it. It's sort of like a two-part game. The first part, you move along the ship, you knock on the characters' doors, you get money and cards, and you get to peek at things, and you get to sort of prepare the fight. You get to declare whose side you're going to be. And then at the end, the mano a mano goes down, and you figure out who wins. I really enjoy it. It's a clever concept. It's a game that I do wish was more widely available. Unfortunately, it's not. But it deserves to be. I think it's a clever game. It's an attractive game for sure. Really, really glad that I own this one, and if you ever come across it, again, it's kind of hard to find, but if you ever do come across it, I recommend you look into it. That is Cartagena, the Mutiny.
Are you ready to talk about pirates? I am, mateys. Actually, I want to talk about a designer who has designed what I consider the best pirate game, and actually two games that are pirate-like, or has a pirating kind of theme in it, and that is Paul Randall's. Now, he designed what I consider the best pirate game of all time, which is Pirates Cove. This game, you are simultaneously playing cards and picking a location, and you're trying to bluff and go to a different location than everyone else so you could steal the treasures from that location. If multiple people on location, then they have pirate fights and they're fighting to get the treasure in this location. Then you're trying to take your treasure and go to a different location where you could dump off your treasure and get money when you're putting your gold and stuff into the side. The concept that he came up with in this game, the simultaneous action and double blind, is so unique and a very, very cool thing for gaming. He actually designed the second game. Now, his second game is called Key Largo, which has a similar theme. But instead of pirates going around, it's people who are pirating the keys to find treasure underwater. So he keeps the same theme and the double blind. Now, when this game came out, he actually had passed away before the game released, and thank you to Mike Selinker and Bruno Faiduti for finishing up and picking up the rest of the game so the game could be finished up, the final touches on it so it could be published. And this game also has that same theme. You're going to one place to buy your equipment so you could get scuba diving equipment, then you're going to rent a boat so you could get a boat and go out and get your treasure, then you're diving down for your treasure, and when you get your treasure then you bring it back and sell it. But of course, if two people go to sell at the same time, you have fights, obviously not pirate battles, but you have fights, and it's a very cool, unique mechanic that he brings to these games. So for me, two games that I would highly recommend are Pirates Cove and Key Largo from designer Paul Randall's.
Hello folks, welcome to Corner Chat. Today we are here in Denver, Colorado at Game Fest, and I have with me Keith Meyers from Yellow Games. So good to have you on the show.
Thanks for having me, Mark.
Yeah, it's fantastic. You know, this week we're talking about pirates and plunder, conquest in gaming. So what is some of the really cool stuff coming up from Yellow?
Well, we've got a number of cool releases that'll be coming out just momentarily. First, I would give a shout out to our King products because can't have much more destruction than big monsters destroying other monsters and buildings. So the King of Tokyo, King of New York, great line. We will be doing, and I think most people have heard this, but we will be doing the King of New York power-up, which will be coming out later this year. So it makes all monsters have the evolution cards and be able to play through that. So we're pretty excited about that.
No doubt, me too.
Yep. But on the pirate theme, I mean, we've got quite a few that fit that bill. We've got Pina Parada, which is a great card game in that beautiful magnetic closed box. We've got Pingo Pingo, which is the warrior penguins on the island, a great family get up out of your seat playing game. And just recently, I think really big news is World of Yoho. The reception to that has been phenomenal. So we've got this game where your phone becomes the ship. You've got a large board, slightly oversized to fit your phones on there, but your phone goes on there, becomes your ship. You can move around. Stop at ports, you can pick up missions, you can fix your ship, you could buy stuff that you need to do battle. But the phone with the app keeps track of where you are. So when you slide your phone, you actually see movement of your ship through the ocean. Yes. And then the coolest part is when you pull up next to somebody and you want to do battle, you choose your weapons and get that all set up, and then you actually attack, and your cannonball leaves your phone and lands in the other person's phone. It's just beautiful to watch. It is a fantastic, easy to learn game. And with the missions, lots of different things that you can do. You can be chasing people. You can go to islands and find things that are hidden there. So a lot of options, a lot of variety to that gameplay. So we're really excited about that. Sales so far have been great. We launched it just at Christmas time, so hasn't been out there for that long. And then the other big one, which is going to be pretty huge, is Sea of Clouds. Which is Teo Riviere, who did our Shinobi Wata game. But as usual, yellow, beautiful art. So instead of just pirates, they're sky pirates. Sure, your ships are floating through the sea of clouds, trying to pillage and plunder as best you can. The game uses Winston card mechanic, which is usually used in like Magic the Gathering, certain contests like that. So I don't know of any that uses it in a board game, so I think that's a pretty novel way to play the game. And
that should be awesome.
We're excited about that. We just got the prototype in, so I haven't played it yet. I'll be playing it at Gamma, so pretty excited about that. But yeah, a lot of pillage and plunder going on in the Yellow world.
So of all those games, you have a favorite of Yellow?
I have to say I go back to the King of New York. Yeah? That's
it's a great conquest.
Yes, I love King of Tokyo. Adding the buildings, being able to smash buildings added just, for me, the right amount of depth. So I really love that game. And we play with a pretty diverse group. Sometimes, families are coming over with kids. So it's a game that can be accessed by pretty much everybody. And so it's a good go-to game for me.
Awesome. So of all these conquest-y type games, pirates and such, what do you have like a favorite mechanic or theme in these games?
Yeah, I've always been a fan of games where you can mess with your neighbor.
Yeah.
You know, when you're playing the game and you could do something to either thwart them or really put them in a, bad sort. So even games that I've designed myself have that mechanic in it. And so I'm always drawn to that. If I have a chance to really mess with you, that's what I'm going to do.
I have to agree. I love that as well. That's awesome. Well, tell folks where they can find out more information about Yellow and the games.
You can find us, of course, at yellowgames.com. We're also pretty active on Facebook, so I recommend being there because we post updates all the time. We also have usually a Monday contest where you can win free games.
Nice.
So just look for Yellow on Facebook. We're also on Twitter, just under the Yellow tag. So any way you find us, it's all good to go. Look for us in stores. We've got probably 20 games coming out this year.
Exciting.
So something every month.
Wow, that's awesome. Well, thanks so much for joining us today, Keith. Really appreciate it. It's good
Thank
to
you so
have
much,
you.
Mark.
Yeah.
Great to be here.
So, folks, thanks for joining us as well. And until next time, we'll see you at the table.
The game that I am featuring today in Under the Radar is Dark Seas here, and to be honest, it is completely the game's fault that it flew under the radar, and here's why. When the game first came out, I believe it was rushed to come out, if I'm not mistaken, on Tabletop Day, so that's about a year ago. I think it came out a year ago. And it clearly felt rushed to hit that deadline. The rulebook apparently had serious mistakes in it, to the fact that it made the game horrendously long, and the company then later came out and said, or the designer, that's not actually how the game works. All these things are supposed to happen simultaneously, and so that was a huge deal. I think a lot of people probably got the game, played it, and said, this is bad and kind of broken and way too long, dump it. And so they never, you know, the rules were wrong in the box. The other thing is that the dice that came with the game originally did not match the symbols in the game. The colors were okay, and so the company said, oh, just match the colors, don't worry about it. But it was clearly a mistake. And so later, again, they issued corrected dice. You could just ask for corrected dice. Nowadays, they might come in there. I don't know if this was, you know, reprinted. But I do know that the game with the right dice, which helps, and the corrected rules, which helps a lot, is a fun game. It's got a clever dice manipulation system going on where you are building up your island, you are adding hexagons to the outside of your island, you are moving your pirate character, your pawn around and taking actions and populating the different places. It's got a little bit of mean in it, but it's not just a take that game. So you can choose to trigger powers from your hand, you can choose to build up your little sector on the board in front of you. You have to try to be clever with your color combinations. There's a nice amount going on. Certainly, I would say a family weight game, but one that's really attractive and it has a nice flow to it. I've enjoyed it. I think if you were scared away by that you know, first wave of buzz, I would say give it another look. I certainly was glad that I found out that there were issues and I found out about the dice and all those things got corrected, because it's not something I would have kept originally, but now it's a nice pirate game and I'm glad I have it. Not deep, not real thought-provoking stuff, but it's got a nice rhythm to it and I really like the look of the whole thing. So check this one out, folks. That's Dark Seas.
Hello! Welcome to Boards and Crafts, a place for quick tutorials of snacks and crafts inspired from games, for games, and all about board games. Pillaging and plundering is dangerous work, so it's nice to have a little bit of extra insurance. So today I'm going to be showing you guys how to create a soulbound charm from Skulldug in order to help you get out of those sticky situations.
Let's get started.
You will need some red beads, a skull charm, and some cord to string everything on, and maybe a pair of scissors to be on the side just in case. So I had no luck finding a skull charm that I would particularly like, so I ended up making one myself. After I got done with this, I unwound my brown cord and strung a bunch of the red beads. Some of them had too small of holes, so I ended up putting those to the side and kept on going. I guess know that each of the beads remained unique that way. I ended up kind of
eyeballing it on how many red beads I want to put on there. For me, it was 8 on each side of the charm. And I left enough room with the brown cord to where there was about 3 or 4 inches on each side before I cut it off, and tied the ends to where the beads would not move around. And all that was left was that little bit of brown cord that I could tie around my wrist.
And that be it. If you guys have any ideas for tasty treats or creative crafts inspired by any of the board games that are mentioned in this video, comment below or tweet them at me at RCRobot. Now I'm going to be off of pillaging because I like changing my accent.
Hey folks, welcome back to another Real Talk with Sam, and this episode we're talking about plundering and pillaging and fighting and conquest and taking stuff over and destruction. So there's a little bit of a piratey feeling to this episode, so I did want to kind of tailor to that one a little bit. A couple of games, I actually have 4 games that I want to talk about in this category, so I'm going to be pretty quick on all of them. The first one is a little bit of a it's a light game, but it has a little bit of a heavier theme, and that is this guy right here, Rum and Bones. Rum and Bones is really simple to play. It has very easy mechanics, but the theme is so enriching and so engrossing that I had to talk about it. This is all about plundering and pillaging other pirate ships. You are going to be taking your team of pirates and your crew up against another ship's crew, and you're trying to destroy their ship before they destroy yours. Lots of destruction, a lot of rolling of dice, a lot of cool special powers. If you haven't checked this one out, you really need to. That's from Cool Mini or Not, Rum and Bones. And then on the lighter side of the piratey feel is this guy right here, Jamaica. Jamaica is a piratey game that is actually a racing game. You're trying to be the first person to get your ship across the finish line, racing around the island of Jamaica. But as you're going on this race, you're running the risk of running into the other pirates on the race, and of course they're not just going to let you slip by. They're going to take some shots at you, and you're going to fire back. And then you get the chance possibly to steal some of their cargo, which could be that gold that you're really wanting to grab a hold of. So this has a very light piratey theme to it, but still a lot of nice destruction and attacking and plundering and pillaging on this one as well. That's Jamaica. But then as I began to think about plundering and pillaging, and you know, pirates aren't the only ones that ever did that in our scope of reality. There are a lot of games that go into those as well. Another one of those is this guy right here, Fire and Axe. It's a Viking game that has a very nautical feel to it, because you're taking your ship and you're sailing it around, and you have to be careful how many days you're at sea so that your crew doesn't be diminished, or you don't lose any goods or anything like that you're going to use to trade with the other guys. So this is a really neat, almost a pick up and deliver type of game, but it has a definite conquest, destruction, plundering, and pillaging feel to it, and so that's Fire and Axe. And then the last game that I wanted to talk about today has a lot of different kinds of genres and stereotypes in it, but it definitely also has a plundering, conquest, destructive feel to it, and that's this guy right here, Small World. Small World, you have a it's getting very close to an infinite number of possibilities with what kind of people you can play, and what kind of person they are, what kind of race they are. You can have peaceful barbarians, you could have pillaging orcs, you could have a number of different combinations of abilities or characteristics mixed with races, and it's just a lot of fun. It scales well from all of its player counts. It's one of the best games that I know of that scales well at all of its different players and player counts. So Small World had to make my segment today because while it's not piratey, it definitely has that conquest, destructive, pillaging, plundering feel to it. So that's Small World. And look, hey, don't give me any grief, because remember, I'm just trying to keep it real, y'all. We'll see you on the flip side.
friends of the Blend, and welcome back to Retro Board Game Corner. Today we're talking pillage and plundering. Now everybody else is going to be talking about pirates, but you know who else pillaged and plundered? Vikings and barbarians. Here we have Crossbows and Catapults, published in 1983 by Lakeside. This is a two-player dexterity game in which you're trying to demolish your opponent's castle and capture the treasure. Let's see how this game plays out. The first thing you'll need to do is set your castle up. What I like to do is put the castle tower right on the treasure, which makes it harder for my opponent to get there. And then you can start playing. In my mind, the game would go a little bit like this. Playing as the Vikings, we have the man, the legend, the myth, Zee Garcia. And playing as the barbarians, we have a guy that's glasses are too big for his head, as Druval Cifuentes. And now the barbarians have a catapult shot. Great hit. And now we have the Vikings taking a catapult shot. Oh, nice shot by the Vikings. And now they're taking a crossbow shot. Dead center hit. The Vikings have an opening. Can he win the game? Yes, the Vikings win! Now, there was a lot of expansions for this game. There was a battering ram, a minotaur, a cyclops, a dragon, some castle outposts. Now, all this added to the way that the game is played. But it's also great fun just to go ahead and just shoot each other back and forth until there's a winner. Well, that's all the time I have for now. May your rolls be high.
And that, everybody, is our show. I hope you have found at least one new game you had not heard about, maybe something you had forgotten about, and as long as we inspired you to go check out at least one new game, then I, for one, am happy. So thank you for joining us. A big thanks to all my contributors. And come back and join us in a couple of weeks where we're going to be talking food. Glorious food. It's going to be our food episode games featuring delicious chow. So come on back for that. And as always, hey, stay a friend of the Blend. I'll see you.